Today's Australia is a walk in a zoo, but if we rewind the clock 50,000 years back, I'm afraid you and I would be thrown straight into a prehistoric meat grinder. We'd be busy side-eyeing every bush and shadow, praying not to become dinner for giants lurking in the dark with bladed, chainsaw-like teeth. This isn't a deleted scene from Jurassic Park. We're time-traveling to an era where survival was a blood sport. Keep your stick close, because things are about to get gigantic and deadly. There were crocodiles that hunted on land. Among one of the man-eaters was Quincana, the land-dwelling crocodile. Yeah, you heard me right, a croc that hunted on land. But don't imagine today's lazy, sunbathing reptiles, because Quincana was a whole different beast. Its fossils have been discovered in caves, and because of a skull reconstructed at the Central Australian Museum, it was determined to belong to a group of crocodiles known as Megalania, which are all extinct now. Quincana ruled the land from about 24 million years ago to as recently as 40,000 years ago. Now here's where it gets really wild. Its xiphodont teeth. They were recurved, serrated, and appeared to have flattened edges, similar to a blade, as opposed to a typical cone-shaped tooth that other crocodilians have. Why the difference? Well, you see, unlike the crocs you're used to, Quincana wasn't dragging prey into rivers, and it didn't need to. It hunted on land. It had long, powerful legs that lifted its body well off the ground, basically giving it the posture of a hunter instead of a lurker. Size-wise, the early species, like Quinkana maboldi and Quinkana tamara, were smaller, around 2 meters long or 6.5 feet. But then came the Quinkana fortirostrum, and this thing stretched 5 to 6 meters or 20 feet. It didn't just roam the desert either. Quinkana liked woodland areas near streams, ponds, and even billabongs. And while it mostly hunted on land, some believe it still used water for safety, cooling off, or even reproduction. It played both fields. And here's where it gets eerie. Indigenous Australian lore speaks of Quincana's mischievous spirits said to dwell in rocky escarpments and gorges, punishing those who misbehaved or wandered too far. Where have fossils of Quincana been found? In exactly those regions. Coincidence? Maybe. Or perhaps the tales of spirit monsters weren't myths at all, but memories. So next time you're worrying about a spider in your shoe, remember, back in ancient Australia, you didn't just avoid the water, you watched your back on land too. Another nightmarish creature was a giant venomous lizard, a heavyweight from Australia waiting in the wings. Only this one didn't slither or swim, it walked tall, like a tank with scales. That was Megalania, or if you want to sound fancy, Varanus priscus. This beast is the largest lizard ever known to have existed. Today, scientists agree that it belongs to the same group as modern monitor lizards, the Varanus genus. Megalania roamed different environments like open forests, woodlands, and maybe even grasslands. Fossils have been found in stream beds, rivers, and caves, but they're rare there, which likely means it didn't live in those areas full time. More like it visited, maybe to hunt or to cool off. Its size is where things get sketchy. The fossil record is incomplete, but scientists estimate it could have stretched anywhere from 11.5 to 23 feet long, and the weight, anywhere between 97 kilograms or 210 pounds, and a whopping 1,940 kilograms or 4,200 pounds. That's almost 2 tons of lizard muscle. The first fossils of Megalania were discovered way back in 1859 by Sir Richard Owen Yep, the same guy who coined the word dinosaur. He studied 3 vertebrae dug up from a tributary of the Condamine River near Moreton Bay in eastern Australia. The scientists believe it behaved a lot like modern Komodo dragons. And here's where it gets extra spine-tingling. Megalania was part of a group called Toxicifera, which includes reptiles that have venom-producing glands. Some of its cousins, like today's monitor lizards, have venom that acts as a hemotoxin. That means it causes massive blood loss, drops blood pressure, and throws prey into systemic shock. So yeah, if Quincana was the prehistoric crocodile lurking in the shadows, Megalania was the cold-blooded king of the open hunt. Australia really said, go big or go extinct, and Megalania, it took the challenge personally. Another giant was the Rainbow Serpent of Death. So far, we've survived a land-crawling crocodile and a venom-laced megalizard. If you think you're done, think twice. Now, we're entering the domain of the Rainbow Serpent of Death Wonambi. No, not just a cool-sounding name. It's actually borrowed from Aboriginal Dreamtime stories about a giant rainbow serpent. But trust me, this wasn't just myth material. Wonambi was real and very, very good at what it did. You know, squeezing the life out of anything unlucky enough to cross its path. Wonambi belonged to a group of extinct snakes called Matsoiidae, but just think prehistoric constrictors with no chill. The largest species, Wonambi nerocortensis, grew between 13 to 20 feet long, and even the smaller cousin, Wonambi berrii, still managed to stretch out to nearly 10 feet. Like modern-day boas and anacondas, Wonambi wasn't venomous. No, it played the slow, suffocating game. It would lie in wait, hidden and still until the perfect moment to strike. Then bam! Wrapped around its prey like a coiled death trap, squeezing tighter and tighter until breathing stopped. Some researchers even believe the pressure might have been strong enough to stop the heart. Once the prey was down, that was it. Wonambi would grab head first and begin the slow, brutal swallow. Its sharp, backward-facing teeth were like nature's barbs, making sure nothing slid back out while it worked the body down, inch by inch. Now, to be fair, Wonambi had some limits. It had a relatively small skull, and its jaw didn't open as wide as some modern snakes, so even the biggest ones had to be picky about what they hunted. No biting off more than you can chew when your jaw can't stretch, right? Moral of the story, try to avoid this nightmare spaghetti with PhD in suffocation. Another creature was the nightmare koala, Thylacoleo, and its chainsaw teeth. Congrats, now that you've dodged a death hug from a giant snake, let's head to the trees to fight off the Thylacoleo carnifex, the marsupial lion. 40,000 years ago, this creature was the size of a lioness and lurked in the branches of eucalyptus trees. Discovered in the 1830s by a confused colonist who thought its fossils belonged to some kind of giant possum, Thylacoleo puzzled scientists for decades. Even its name, which means pouched lion, felt like a wild guess. The paleontologist Richard Owen, who named it, got laughed at for suggesting this thing was living danger because its ancestors were plant eaters. Critics scoffed, "It's just an oversized koala." Then they saw the claws, curved, retractable, made to gut prey. Suddenly, nobody was laughing anymore. Most predators rely on canines to kill. Not this beast. Thylacoleo turned its incisors into serrated knives, capable of delivering 500 pounds of force. That's skull-crushing power. Its cheek teeth weren't for chewing. They were bolt cutters evolved to slice flesh. The bite marks it left behind, they looked like something you'd expect from a chainsaw, not a marsupial. Still, for years, someone insisted they ate cucumbers because their ancestors were herbivores. It's a reminder that science, like evolution, sometimes struggles with change. But Thylacoleo didn't. This predator wasn't some lone monster in the night. It was family-oriented. In 1966, miners found a cave in New South Wales that told a story of skeletons of a mother, her Joey still in the pouch, and what looked like a rebellious teenager tagging along, a whole marsupial lion family. They raised their young in caves, probably taught them how to climb, how to ambush, and how to take down Prehistoric, giant kangaroos tall enough to peek into your second-floor window. No joke. And inside those caves, deep claw marks carved into the walls like a prehistoric training gym. Thylacoleo didn't just climb, it scaled rock walls. But no predator rules forever. As Australia's climate dried and forests shriveled into desert, humans showed up and started hunting their prey. Thylacoleo couldn't just switch to smaller meals. It was a specialist, a gourmet killer. Imagine Gordon Ramsay being forced to survive on gas station snacks. It just wasn't sustainable, and so it vanished. Another nightmarish creature was the Diprotodon, the gentle giant of ancient Australia. In the golden haze of the Pleistocene, imagine this. Vast open woodlands bathed in amber sunlight, and through it wander massive, rhino-sized marsupials with broad, twitching noses and thick, shaggy fur. That's Diprotodon. But don't picture a lonely beast. These creatures were social, bound by tight family groups. Herds moved together like quiet nomads, their heavy footsteps thudding like distant drums across the outback. Mothers carried their joeys in backward-facing pouches, like their modern cousins, the wombats. Not just adorable, but practical too. Kept the little ones safe from dust storms, predators, and the brutal terrain. Smart parenting, ancient style. Now, don't mistake their slow, lumbering walk for laziness. These guys moved with purpose, following seasonal paths to hidden water holes scattered across the dry heart of Australia. It was like a ritual, a sacred migration, replayed year after year. Every bite they took shaped their environment. Shrubs crushed under front teeth, delivering up to 11,000 newtons of force. That's enough to chomp through woody plants like candy. Diprotodon wasn't just big. It was a 3-ton wombat tank, stretching up to 3.8 meters long or 12.5 feet, 1.8 meters or 6 feet at the shoulder, and weighing more than a pickup truck. Picture a modern rhino, but fuzzier and with a massive 70 centimeter or 2.3 foot skull full of ever-growing chisel-like incisors and molars ridged to crush bark and roots. Its wide paws left kidney-shaped tracks in the mud, a signature that still tells us where it roamed. But here's where it turns. Their world started unraveling. The rains didn't come like they used to. Forests shriveled. Rivers turned to bone-dry cracks. Herds wandered farther and farther for food, only to find salt lakes hiding sticky death traps beneath crusty surfaces. Herds got stuck. Bones were left behind. Ghost of a gentler age, frozen in time. And just when things couldn't get harder, we showed up. Humans didn't come with weapons of war. They came with fire stick farming. To be exact, it was smart. It helped them survive. But the flames crept into Diprotodon territory. Forests turned to ash. Their habitats transformed faster than these giants could keep up. And with reproduction that only produced one joey every few years, they just couldn't keep pace. They didn't roar. They didn't fight. They faded. And so ends the reign of the wombat lords, undone by climate chaos in humanity's very first barbecue era. The goose god of the outback. Now we're at the end of the line, following the traces of the fallen giant Genyornis newtoni. This 2 meter tall or 3.3 foot, 350 kilogram or 770 pounds bird that stomped across ancient woodlands like it owned the place. Strong, slow, and unstoppable, or so it seemed. This wasn't just some oversized emu. Recent discoveries in 2024 added to what we thought we knew. Fossils revealed a goose-like bill topped with a triangular crest, a casque hinting that this tank of a bird was specially built for grazing on aquatic plants. Sounds peaceful, right? Just wait. Genyornis was the last of the mihirungs, or thunderbirds, a group that had survived for millions of years. But about 50,000 years ago, everything changed. Lakes like Calabana dried up, turning into death traps, and flocks of Genyornis got stuck and died in the mud. Some fossils even show signs of infection and panic. And just when things couldn't get worse, guess who showed up? Human arrival brought new pressures. Burn marks on Genyornis eggshells dated between 53,000 and 43,000 years ago show that people were collecting and cooking these massive 1.6 kilogram or 3.5 pound eggs like it was Sunday brunch. One egg could feed a whole family. This kind of harvesting, combined with climate change, may have pushed Genyornis over the edge. Some researchers argued that the eggs were from the other birds like megapods, but protein testing and egg distribution across the continent point straight to Genyornis. Maybe we should never forget them. In Arnhem Land, there's Aboriginal rock art estimated to be 40,000 years old that seems to show a long-necked bird eerily similar to Genyornis. So next time you see an emu strutting like it owns a place, just remember, it's walking in the footsteps of a fallen king. Congratulations, you survived a day in prehistoric Australia. Drop your survival strategy in the comments. Smash like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next wild one.